That's what I just said. That's what I just said.
Yeah, that is what you just said, isn't it?
Select characters where gaming meets analysis.
Hello and welcome to the 26th episode of the Select Characters Podcast. I'm Sam Yates. I will, as always, be your ever magnanimous host. And joining me at this international speed stacking competition, I have some friends with me. I have Christopher Anderson over here stacking 6 cups in 16.7 seconds. What's up?
I need to pay attention to Enrique's tapping a little more then, because he's very good at it.
Enrique's good. He's got the speed stack cups with the belt clip, though, so...
You gotta be ready for it. You gotta be ready for it.
He's on his way to the top.
He's always ready. That's the thing. More practice. And also over here, stacking 6 cups into a pyramid, Enrique Cancel with a time of 10.7 seconds.
Stacked and ready. Let's go.
Okay. All right. Good. And here at the merch booth of the International Speed Stacking Competition, selling a specially formulated brand of cup grease, Ryan Dildine. What's up, man?
Hey, I'm out of retirement. One night only. I'm
Good.
back.
Oh, the legend's back. All right.
I can't imagine cup grease is a good investment for these kind of things. Don't you want something that'll keep them, steady?
I mean, because you got to slide them on top of each other.
I guess.
They said there was only one man who could roll in and win this tournament, but he was in retirement. But he's back. He's back.
There he is.
Oh, by the way, Ryan, welcome back.
Thank
You've
you.
been gone for 2 or 3 weeks now.
Yeah, it's been a while. I feel like I haven't done this in a very long time.
Had a good honeymoon?
Yeah, it was fantastic. Portland's a fantastic city. It was just great.
There you go. Yeah, by the way, you're back just in time for our 6-month anniversary. We've been doing this for 6 months now.
Really?
Wow.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been going good.
Yeah, all we had to do was not stop.
Which we did one time, but other than that, we never stopped.
Good job, us. I mean, good job, everybody. High fives all around, everybody.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Sorry, my hands
And
are covered in cup grease.
thanks everyone who decided to stick around after the first couple of episodes. We're glad to have you.
We are extremely glad to have you. Thank you so much. Well, I guess let's ring off this chronological achievement by talking about what we've been playing. Okay, it has been another great week for video games, as always. Let's talk a little bit about what we've been playing, and let's start with Ryan, since he's back.
Yeah. All right. So Heather and I, when we got back, it turns out people give you a lot of Target gift cards for weddings. So we went to Target and impulse bought a Wii U. And
Excellent.
So we've been playing a lot of couch co-op stuff, mainly Mario Kart, and we've also hooked up my computer to the TV and done some split-screen Rocket League, which is extremely fun.
Nice.
Especially after a couple drinks or something.
Oh, hell yeah.
Rocket League is the greatest game. But other than that, I mean, we've just been kind of settling back in, so we've just been doing a bunch of couch co-op type stuff.
Mm.
I found that Wii U was really good for that kind of stuff, so it's a shame it got such a bad rap when it first came out.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the greatest thing ever, and we may end up returning it, depending on news about the NX coming out. But yeah, it's been a great purchase so far. We've really enjoyed it.
It's not like there's a ton of games for it, but I think that the catalog is good enough. Like, the quality of the games is there. Like, you've maybe got like 8 to 10 good games, but I think that's enough to justify owning the console.
Yeah, but Nintendo's always really good with the first-party support, so you can't really go wrong in that respect.
Yeah, we bought Mario Kart, Nintendo Land, and Super Smash Brothers. So it's like,
Nice.
even if we only have those games forever, we're probably going to get our money's worth out of like playing time, you know? So
Did you say Nintendo Land?
yeah, Nintendo Land.
Well, what's that?
It's this weird game. I don't know. I've only played it once, and it was at like a friend's party. But it's like this weird little mini game pack, I think, and it was only $30 too. But it's just all these little mini games, and they're really fun to play with like 3 or 4 people.
Yeah, Nintendo Land is great. It's if you can imagine like a digital theme park with 4 good games in it, and
yeah,
and a few that don't get as much playtime. But the whole idea is that these they have 3 or 4, I can't remember, let me see, 3 games that are really good for 4 people, where one person uses the gamepad and the other 3 people use the sticks.
Yeah.
So you'll have like the person with the gamepad is Mario, the person with the sticks are Toads, and you're all chasing each other in this arena, and everybody's trying to catch the one person with the gamepad.
Mm-hmm.
And then just sort of variations on that theme. But those games are really, really good. I mean, like, it doesn't matter who you have in that room. If you have 4 people, they're going to have a good time with that.
Yep.
All right, then.
So that's, I mean, it's a solid one to have. I thought that was a pack-in, but maybe not.
It was when it first came out, I thought.
Well, we got the actually the only Wii U Target had left was the Mario Kart 8 version.
Oh, that's why.
So it already had Mario Kart on it, and then we just bought Nintendo Land separate because I had so much fun with it.
I do like that one.
But yeah, that's been it for me.
Cool, man. Let's cruise on over here to. Oh, also, man, we got to trade those friend codes.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Eventually.
Yeah,
Yes.
if you get a chance though, you should play a Wonderful 101. That's actually a really fun one too.
Okay. Yeah, we can do it.
I don't know if you ever played like Beautiful Joe back on the GameCube, but it's like the same makers, so it's got like that same kind of tone.
Oh, that's awesome. Beautiful Joe was a really cool game.
Yeah.
And Super Mario 3D World. That's a good couch co-op.
Okay.
I played through that one with my wife, and the levels get real hard later, so it's like a good ramp up. That one's pretty cool.
Have you played Mario Party? What's the new one? 10?
I haven't, but it doesn't sound
I've
great.
heard bad things about it.
Yeah.
I was getting a second opinion, but you were my second opinion.
Yeah, it's a real shame, dude. The like Mario Party on paper should be really, really fun, and for some reason they just continuously don't nail it, even though it seems like the formula is very simple.
Yeah.
Well, they keep bringing in like all these unnecessary changes. I know like one of the things that I hated about this one is that all the characters move together now.
Yeah, in the car.
Rather than have like that separate board game kind of feel that the previous ones did.
Oh, I really liked that in the previous one.
Yeah, so I don't know. It seems like they're making it more like loser proof than anything. Like you don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, so we're going to make sure everyone keeps up at the same pace.
And, you know, there's weird, like, rubber banding and stuff going on behind the scenes, and it's the results always seem a little bit random.
Yeah.
But, I don't know, man. Like, there's a way to make a good Mario Party game, and it's really just following a very basic principle, I think, and they keep not nailing it. It continues to surprise me that they don't. It's really strange.
Maybe it's just harder to do than you thought.
It's really not. It's really not. Just like a ton of mini games. I mean, maybe even you don't even have to actually have the board. Just, you know, put some kind of board representation on there and just let people play mini games a lot. And you'd be getting somewhere close. There's the one way to do it. There's another Wii game called Wii Party U, and the mini games in that one range from average to not that great, but there's a ton of them. And the way they do the main board mode is you know the coin drop machines where you drop the coins and if they hit the bottom, you get more coins?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, so they set that up, and then you play the mini game, and the winner gets to drop 4 balls into this machine, and then like second place 3, and then on down the line. So like that's how they do the board, air quotes, portion of it, and then the mini games are just the mini games. Like, it doesn't have to actually be a roll and move game. Like everybody knows those are crap. So find a way to abstract that into something else. And even though that game is mediocre across the board, the ball dropping sort of game is actually a cool middle ground between the mini game.
All right.
Just a suggestion. I mean, you know, you can have that one for free, Nintendo. Okay, so that's Ryan and my rant about Mario Party. A cooperative joint.
Sometimes you just got to rant, man.
Let's talk to Enrique and find out what he's been playing this week.
I've actually haven't had a lot of chance to sit down and play much on the big screen, so I've actually just been grabbing my DS and playing Majora's Mask when I get a chance.
That's a classic.
It is, and they actually transferred it really well to the 3DS. One of the things that I liked is that they didn't just do like a straight carbon copy. They adjusted a lot of the puzzles and changed some of the boss fight mechanics around. So they did just enough to make the game still feel fresh in your mind. So it's actually a lot of fun.
Cool, man. Anything else, or just kind of a light week?
Yeah, it's just kind of like just pretty much that. Yeah. And then I tried out some of like the raids in Destiny and stuff like that. So I'm still hooked on that, which is pretty good to say.
So what's the rate like? Are you doing hard modes now? Or?
I tried hard mode yesterday. We're probably going to try it again tonight. It's not difficult in the sense of like what you would expect from like a World of Warcraft hard mode.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like I think that, like there's people that cleared it an hour after it went live. So, but it's fun enough though, because like the big appeal for Destiny is that the raids are more about like really interesting mechanics and working together as a group. So they just kind of add more mechanics to take into account. So it's actually a lot of fun.
So what's the difference between the normal modes and the hard modes? Is it just extra mechanics, or are they just a bit more bullet spongy?
Some of the bosses are a little bit more bullet spongy, and they have just basically like the ads hit harder. But things like the War Priest, normally there's like 3 platforms when you're fighting the War Priest, and you kind of take turns dealing damage from each platform, and then he'll destroy the platform, and you have to like hide behind a pillar. I mean, that's a really simplified version of it. But in the hard mode, they make it so depending on which platform you choose to attack him first and he destroys, he'll actually gain a new ability based on whatever platform he destroyed. So it's kind of cool.
Oh, all right. So it's not a carbon copy. All right, cool.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's more things to take into account. And like that's kind of what the fun part of the raids are. So I'm happy so far.
What's your light level?
He says as if he knows what that means.
Yeah,
I'm just making conversation, man. You know.
I'm at level 305 right now, and they actually increased the limit to 330. No, 330. That's the max right now.
When did they do that? I haven't really played this week, so is that like something that they patched in this week?
Yeah, it's Friday with because I guess the hard mode drops higher light level stuff now.
All right, fair enough.
Do you guys want to compare your light wieners?
Sam's just bitter because he's not on the Destiny hype train yet.
I am a little bit, actually. To be fair, I am a little bit bitter. That game sounds pretty cool.
I do. I like it because it scratches just the surface of those things you like in an MMO that addict you, but it doesn't go so deep to the point where you feel forced or compelled to devote that much time to it.
Awesome, man.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Okay, Chris, video games?
I've only played 2 of them. The first one is the final episode of Life is Strange. It finally came out, and just in time for you to get on the bandwagon as well. So we both played it. What did you think?
It was good, man. That was a solid video game.
Yeah? What did you think of the ending? Because the general consensus seems to be that the ending is not all that great.
I thought the ending was fine. I mean, it's basically 2 endings, right? Is what you're looking at.
Yeah, well, one is obviously the choice that the developer wants you to go for, and the other is more a choice for the sake of giving you a choice. Which, by the way, I still chose the latter one because screw the first one.
Yeah, when we were talking about that, I also looked on YouTube and talking to you about it. I felt if I would have gotten the ending that was the other side of that, I would have been sort of unsatisfied with it, just because. It's weird to talk very vaguely about it, you know. But like I would expect a certain sequence of events that didn't really occur that way. Yeah. And then I told you like how they could probably fix it, and I think I would have been fine with that. But I think the way I've wrapped my head around it is that if you want to make a player choice game and you want actions to have consequence, you have to be okay at a certain point of letting go and letting bad stuff happen.
Yeah.
You know, like if every ending is a fairy tale ending, then what is the point of even giving people player choice?
Yeah, and neither of those endings are positive. Both are quite negative, actually. And they're both pretty much a downer ending.
I mean, yes, kind of, but in very different ways. One of them makes you feel like everything sort of rolled together and looped up and created a nice little package, and the other one feels way too open-ended.
Yeah. And I chose the way too open-ended one because that one just felt better to me, even though I will agree that the first ending, and Jesus Christ, talking vaguely about this is quite hard, but
it is, right?
But the choice that the developer wants you to go for, that one obviously feels like the better of the 2.
Right, it's more fleshed out, I think you could say.
Yeah.
And at least like the stuff I'm looking at online about like all the different like actual length of time of the ending, spoken voice lines in each of the endings, you know, like just the nuts and bolts side of it. One side seems like it clearly had more resources devoted to it.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's not to say good or bad. I mean, really, like, as long as they're happy with what they did, then everything's cool.
I think they should be happy with what they did because they came out of left field and they managed to get quite a following over the past year. It's just I think it's a fantastic game. I had to review it, and I gave it a 9, which pissed quite a lot of people off, apparently.
Yeah, what?
So is it not like a teen girl simulator?
It is not. It is.
It's also
far
not a 9.
from it.
It's neither of those things.
It's not a teen girl simulator, which... Like, I had a couple of comments.
It's not even close. It's not even close to that.
Not at all. Not at all. Like, what, like...
I mean, a little bit, but that's not even, like, the main thread.
No, the thing is, you're playing a teenager who has teenage friends, and that is where the teenage girl simulator thing, like the comparison, ends basically. Because you get into some shit that you, in a million years, could not call childish or teeny or something like that. That game gets dark.
So it's a solid game that people are overgeneralizing.
Well, yeah, people just take that game at face value, I feel. They see, like, really pretty colors, and they see, like, a pretty teenage girl and this and that, and, like, a really indie-sounding soundtrack. So people just assume that this is basically Tumbr, the game.
Yeah. The only interest I have in the game is from you talking about it so highly.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic.
Other than that, I was like, whatever.
Yeah, I was like that as well. Until my sister told me, like, you should really try this game because you will love it. And lo and behold, I did. I love it. It's probably my top 5 favorite games of all time now.
Any word when they're going to actually release it? Actually, you know what? Never mind. Now that it's all out, I'm actually interested in playing it.
Yeah, it's all out now. You can just play it now.
And at least in the way of, if you look at it like strength of problem solving ability, it is definitely a teen girl simulator.
Well, it's not about the puzzles, that game, is it?
No, I mean Max Caulfield in general.
Oh, right.
Is not very good at solving problems.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's okay, because she's not me. You know what I mean? She's her own person. She can do her own thing. But there's, like, the illusion that I get to have some say in what she does. Like, whatever, dude.
Yeah, I think that is the thing that most people took issue with, because in the end, your choices didn't really matter. But then again, that's always the case with games like this. Like, the start is set in stone, and the ending is usually set in stone as well. You only get to, like, customize little bits and pieces of who your character is within that world.
Yeah.
And, yeah, people just got kind of pissy near the end because none of those choices mattered in the end.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a weird thing to be pissy about. What do you expect by now?
Yeah, right. It happens every damn time. It happens every damn time a Telltale game comes out, and people are still getting up in arms about this. And it's impossible to let all your choices weigh in on the level that people want it to weigh in the end. Because, like I said last week, like how much are you willing to compromise the story to give people more agency in what they're doing?
Exactly.
It's impossible to do. Now, in the end, love that game. It was fantastic. And I hope they make a second season. They said that if they're going to do that, they're going to write a season around different characters in a different place. So that's cool. Yeah, I was very surprised by this.
I want to make one more comment about the ending that I did like is that it felt like they ended it clean instead of like where it felt like they had a lot of opportunity to go really bombastic with it and like make an attempt to blow your mind or either fail miserably. It was simpler, but very clean, you know? Like it was like they didn't really do all that crazy shit because they didn't have to. All they had to do was write the last paragraph of an interesting story, so they did.
Yeah.
And I thought that felt pretty good. And some people, might decry it for being simplistic or whatever, but I mean, sometimes, you tell a good story, you just wrap it up. You don't, it doesn't have to constantly escalate and the ending of the story is some giant escalation again. You just kind of, just wrap it up and finish it. So, I mean, I like that they did that. That felt pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm really glad that I played it.
I think that's smart too. I agree with that decision that they made.
Yeah, and I get the feeling that this game is all about the journey and not so much about the ending. And the journey is fantastic.
Yeah, and in the face of everybody expecting it to be something like, here's episode 5, impress me, blow my mind.
Yeah.
And they're like, you know what, we're just gonna finish this good story we've been telling. Like, it's not on us to do that. That felt like an organic decision. I like that a good bit. And the game is good. It's a good story. It's a good game.
Would recommend.
Yeah, I'd recommend it. Cool. What's the other game you've been playing this week?
I've been playing Assassin's Creed Syndicate. It arrived on Friday. I've been playing it an awful lot. Well, I've just been binging on it for the past couple of days now, and I've nearly finished it now.
Do you want to say anything? Is it nice?
So, compared to Unity, last year's Assassin's Creed, it is so much better, both from a technical standpoint as from a gameplay perspective, and the story is better, the voice acting is better. London is a fantastic city. It's a well-realized city, and I was very impressed by that.
What system did you play it on?
I played it on the PS4. It had frequent dips below 30, but couldn't have been more than 3 frames at the most, and only when there's a lot going on, which incidentally is all the time. But still, it was a lot more stable than Unity was at release, so that's good. But the problem with Assassin's Creed games now is the tech behind the games has evolved over the years. You can't deny that it looks fantastic, but the mechanics have never evolved with it. And in a world where The Witcher 3 is now a thing, and where Metal Gear Solid 5 is now a thing, the open world gameplay of Assassin's Creed just does not cut it anymore. And I say that as a fan of the series. And I really, really wish that they just skip next year's release in favor of working on the next installment a bit more, because they need to go back to the drawing board. It just doesn't work anymore, this.
What would you like to see for like an Assassin's Creed game?
I don't know. Well, I think
no single player, multiplayer only.
Yep.
I'd be okay with that, really. I'd be okay with that, because the multiplayer for Assassin's Creed games has always been fantastic. With Unity as the only exception, because I don't like the co-op stuff. Just I don't care. But they really need to take another look at the movement system. You know, the whole parkour system, because it does not feel intuitive in the slightest. It becomes a chore to climb up and down buildings, and sometimes when you try to go down, your character goes up. And
is it true that you don't have to in this one?
What do you mean?
Or like you get like a grappling hook or something?
Yeah, you get a rope launcher, and that makes traversing London a lot more fun, actually. Like, I like the climbing stuff, I like the free running stuff, but it can get a bit tiring every now and then. So the rope launcher, you can just shoot at any point on any building and just zip across the skyline like that, which is great. It feels really good.
I'm not sure how. I guess you would just maybe just not slow him down whenever he's trying to parkour over something. Just make it real smooth so that you're not even paying attention to like what you're doing. Maybe something like that.
Yeah, there doesn't seem to be an awful lot of momentum to the free running, and free running is all about momentum. This just feels like a dude climbing on stuff, and that's basically it.
Are there any sort of radical departures that come from being in a more industrialized time period?
No.
No? Yeah.
If you've played Unity, or you've played any other Assassin's Creed for that matter, you know exactly what to expect. This time around, like in Unity, you had a cafe as a sort of base of operations. This time, it's a moving steam train called Bertha. Not kidding.
Awesome.
Yeah. It looks great, but it's a bit pointless, because all the things that you can do, apart from a couple of missions that you have to start there, like all the things that you can do on the train, you can do from the pause menu. So there's not a lot of reason to go back there.
Yeah.
Which is a shame, because it's a cool thing. Like the train is always moving around London, and it just so happened that after I did a mission, I assassinated a dude and I ran out of the factory, and then my train just sort of drove by on the tracks above me. Like, yeah, fuck yeah. So I got on the train and escaped that way. That's pretty great. A different addition to the series is horse-drawn carriages, because London is full of them, and you can just hijack one from some poor old soul just driving by, or you can get one from the side of the street. And there's also vehicular combat now, which is pretty damn great. I was driving around, and I angered some gang members or whatever, and they went after me with, I think it was 2 or 3 other carriages. And because it's a horse-drawn carriage, the horse will keep on moving regardless of you being in the seat or not. So you can jump on the top of your carriage, then jump to your enemy's carriage, kill them, and then jump back to your own carriage and just drive on. That's really great. Like, the vehicular combat is awesome.
So would you say that they've made up for the misstep that they took with Unity then?
It's a bit too little too late. If Unity was in the state that this game was in, then Unity would have been a bigger success, I think. But that doesn't take away from the fact that Assassin's Creed under the hood it's showing its age, and it really needs to be updated. They can't go on like this.
Yeah, well, I hope they agree with you. I like that game in principle, so I don't know.
I just like that franchise. I've been playing that game since I've been playing that franchise since the first one, and I've always loved every new iteration. But even me, someone who looks forward to every new Assassin's Creed game, I'm starting to get a bit burnt out on it because the mechanics are just feeling very tired and old now. And it needs to change if they want to keep the series as a household name.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I'm in two minds about this. It's a fantastic Assassin's Creed game, but it's not a very good game.
Oh well, next year you play as the Templars. That's the big twist.
We did that last year.
Oh shit. Okay, never mind. Oh.
Yeah, they need to take a break, man. They really, really need to take a break.
Cool, man. Anything else this week?
Haven't really had time for anything else, so that was it.
Cool. As for me, let's see. Kept playing Might and Magic 10 a little bit more this week. That game is surprisingly resilient to being like absolutely broken. I keep finding things that I think break it, and then it somehow doesn't. It's really strange.
That's an interesting choice of words there.
Are you talking about breaking it in regards to like exploiting it in your favor, or just like general bugs?
Right, yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So, I mean, I found some things, like if I started it again and made a brand new party, I have no doubt that I could just crack it wide open and suck all the juice out. But, like, because I'm stuck with the party I have and I'm not about to start that game over, God no, I'm finding like little exploitive things, but even then there's no perfect loops in that game. Like there's always a hole in the bucket. So you do skill rotations, but you're always leaking something, like your mana's going down gradually, or there's an open turn where now the enemy can attack and you can't always plug all the gaps. Mm-hmm. So basically when they send enemies at you, and they'll send like 8, 10, 12 guys, and then as those guys are cycling out, you could kill any one of them, no problem, but it's like this, like, I don't know, like death by degrees kind of thing, you know?
Okay.
Because you're always losing a little bit of something, and then you're trying to plan for that, and then the enemies will mix up, like now a mage comes in, now a heavy hitter comes in. It's really engaging, it's really cool, and even the things that I find still won't entirely break it, and it's cool. It's fun to play, and because you know, there's only so much gold in that world. There's only so many enemies in that world. Like, there's no grinding, there's no nothing, because what's there is there from the moment you first set foot into it.
You know, I always wonder if there's like a proverbial sweet spot in regards to being able to happily break a game and just enjoy it for the sake of being overpowered, but not to the point where it sucks all the fun out of it.
It's more like compressing the amount of fun. That's the way I see it, as compressing the amount of fun you'd have with the rest of the game.
Right.
Like, you're going to have a super good time for 15 minutes, and then you're going to be done with it. That's how I've always seen any kind of cheat codes or anything like that. That's the way it's always worked for me. Like, I'm gonna have a ton of fun. Like, whoa, man, I'm awesome. Check me out. And then I'm like, okay, now I'm bored.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's what I'm wondering. I'm wondering if there's like a sweet spot where like they can actually give you that kind of compressed feeling, but keep throwing in some kind of monkey wrench that'll keep you like coming back and wanting to do it over again.
That's kind of what this feels like. Like, I found a thing, like the wizard can just cast tornadoes, but the tornadoes move for 4 turns, but casting them doesn't take any turn time. So you can just summon up like a gajillion tornadoes on the square in front of you, and then they'll go around the corner and just annihilate anybody they touch. But to do that, you have to suck down like 20 mana potions. And then also buying new mana potions, you know, costs $5,000 to $10,000.
Oh, damn. Okay.
And there's only so much money in that game, you know, like you can't grind it out. So I'm sort of like thinking, okay, I could be really hurting myself on down the line because I also have to buy spells, I have to buy skills, I have to buy all these things. So even though like this is a crushing force that, you know, can't be defeated, I'm also burning resources that could bite me in the ass later on.
Okay, interesting.
Stuff like that, you know, so it's very resilient, and I like it. It's good. In addition to that, I played some Super Mario Maker. I am really trying to beat 100 Mario mode on Expert.
How's that going?
And I am really not succeeding. It is not going well. It's extremely frustrating, but it's gotten better. The last time I played it was maybe like a few weeks ago, maybe a month. It's gotten better in that the levels that you find there, you still get the bullshit ones that are just frustrating, dumb tricks, but you also get some that feel like actual Mario levels, just hard.
Yeah, like the initial wave of people is sort of gone. Like people just buying the game for a lark and just trying it out. Those people have put it down now. And the people who are really committed to it are now making levels full time. So you'll get better ones.
Yeah. And I think people are getting bored of the like, oh, haha, look what I did. 0.2 people beat this because I put a hidden block over here. Like it. Yeah, people are coming to terms with that like Bible of game design that says when people die, it should be their fault. Not like some random bullshit that just
taking out the gimmicks, kind of taking out the cheese.
So you still get a lot of those. I mean, I'm not going to say they're not in there. It feels like part of the default template is to have twomps fall on you at the very beginning.
Oh,
that seems like
I felt that way with Trials Evolution. Like there were some levels that were just really well crafted and they were fun to play and they were satisfying to beat, and then there were levels where you start playing it and you're like, okay, like what's your deal, guy?
Yeah, I like it. I do like it when they telegraph that at the beginning. So I'm like, okay, cool, I can just skip this one. Like you don't understand anything about level design, right?
Yeah.
And let them have their own little joke. I played one that I want to spotlight. I wish I could remember the name of it. It was something platforms, but you start out and there's nothing killing you right away. And you kind of move forward a little bit. And the up and down platforms that are in Mario games?
Yeah.
The whole gist of it is that basically you're standing on these and they'll go up and push you into a wall, which pushes you down through the platform. Like that's this artist's medium. Like that's what he's going to be working in. And the first couple you'll fall and there'll be blocks there so that you don't immediately die while you're trying to kind of coming to grasp with like, okay, this is what this is.
Okay.
And you'll go forward. He'll start setting up, like 3 or 4 of them in a row. There'll be like a little block where if you're big Mario, you can break it and hide. And there's little fish jumping at the bottom of the level. But he takes that time in the beginning to sort of introduce you to the broad strokes.
Yeah.
And then you start going forward and he's, like I said, he's pushing the walls of this medium. He's like finding everything he can do with the platforms that push you up and then push you through them. And you move forward and you move forward. And then about 3/4 of the way through the level is my favorite part, is that the fish that have been jumping at the bottom the entire time, they're not really a threat. But what happens is they jump up and they hit the bottom of your feet. And then when Mario does that little murder hop, like that split second of you losing control often steers you off course, pushed up against the wall and then down into the abyss.
Oh, God.
And it was awesome because he signaled that, like way back in the beginning. Like the fish have always been there, but you were like, oh, that's a nice little environmental effect. But then they actually come into play.
Oh, that's smart.
Right. That's what I mean. Like for every one of those bullshit tricky levels, there's some people out there who are actually making some really clever, difficult Mario levels. And I wish that there was a way to just have those float to the top.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's anything like that right now, but it'd be something really cool to see down the line. Like it's just inspiring to see some of the stuff that people can do who actually, think about the design of their level instead of just, oh, this level has a 1% clear rate. I'm the coolest.
Yeah.
Based on real shitty tricks and gimmicks, but that it's a lot of fun, man. It's got a lot of potential and I continue to try to beat that expert mode. Oh,
you're not making levels yourself?
I haven't really played with the creation tool that much. I honestly thought I never would. I didn't think I thought I just wanted to play tons of user created Mario levels. Mm-hmm. But it turns out that the more I do of that, I'm actually starting to feel that compulsion a little bit to go make something myself. So it actually works that playing the community levels, is inspiring in a way.
Yeah.
Like I'm sort of noticing small details. Like I play one, I'm like, wow, that felt like an actual Mario level. And then I'm like, okay, why? And then I'm like, well, I wonder if I could recreate that in the level editor. Like I haven't done it yet, but I can see myself in the very near future, whenever I actually have a big block of time to sit down and play with it, trying to actually make some Mario levels that are good, just to show all those people like this is maybe a better way to go about it. But it's a fascinating experiment, man. That game is just fascinating. It's really fun to play, and I've been having a great time with it.
All right,
cool.
And so that wraps up me. You guys want to cruise on and talk about some topics?
Yeah,
let's go.
How do you assess the quality of a video game? We all have video games that we like, but how do we find out what we like in those video games? Was that a good way to formulate the question?
Yeah, I think so. I think for me, it's not necessarily a checklist of things that I go through. I think we've talked about it a little bit before, but I'm really like an atmospheric person when I play games. So when I play a game, it's like I play it and I just know afterward, I'm like, man, that was a good game. Like I really got immersed, I guess. I guess immersion is one of the most important things for me, and for it to not feel frustrating for bad reasons. Like I don't want a game to be gimmicky or anything like that. It's just when I really get drawn into the game and I lose track of time, I think that's for me the most important thing.
So I mean, I guess would you say you take a more holistic approach to, I guess, how you qualify a game?
How do you mean?
Just, you know, like instead of just focusing on specific aspects of it, you know, you tend to look at like just kind of how everything kind of caters towards the immersion.
Yeah, I try to just take the entire experience for what it is rather than say this was good about it, this was bad about it. I do that afterward, but my first impressions of the game, it's like you're right. It's a holistic thing. Like it's the entire experience in and of itself, and then afterward, I'll go in and dissect the game and be like, well, this was good, this was bad. But I don't know. I guess for me, I'm just more of an overall person. Mm-hmm. If it's a good game, it's a good game, and you know it's a good game when it's a good game. It's pretty vague. I know it's very vague, but that's kind of how I do it.
I mean, speaking of like good games and stuff, I know Chris can probably talk a little more about this too, considering you're writing for Tech Raptor now. But in terms of like when you look at game reviews, and you see the whole like the scoring system and the metrics, they're basically taking that experience that Ryan was speaking of, and they're quantifying it down to a 1 to 10, 1 to 5, 4-star, whatever. Like they're basically putting it in a measurable scale. So I'm kind of curious to discuss when you're taking that holistic experience, how do you break it down and quantify it into numerical value?
Yeah, that's a tough question, that.
Well, I don't know, I may be totally off base on this, but I feel like when you're reading game reviews, a 5 doesn't tend to be the average for games. I feel like a 7 tends to be the average, and reviewers go off of that, and that's a problem.
It is a problem because on a 1 to 10 scale, the 5 is the middle ground. A 5 should be its average, a 6 should be better than average. But you're right, like we've gotten into this weird thing where a game needs to be at the very least a 7 and above to be considered good. If you see a game that gets a 5, you automatically dismiss it.
You're like, shit, no. It's like, no way I'm not playing that game. But it's like, I don't know. In my mind, I feel like a 5 should represent a satisfying game that wasn't amazing, but it wasn't bad either. It was just a solid, normal game, run of the mill. It
was a playable experience.
So if your game gets a 6.5, it's not terrible. It's not great, but it's positive, So
here's the thing about review scores. They're very hard to interpret because a 7 might mean something to me, but to somebody else, that 7 might mean something completely different.
Right. That's true.
So I always find it really hard to find out what a certain score means when I'm reading a review, which is why I read the review. Not most people, but some people like to scroll down, just see if what the score is, and then just go from there. I tend to just read the entire review to figure out why this person thinks that a game's worth a 6 or a 7 or an 8 or a 4 stars.
I think that's why a lot of those sites do give that numerical value because a lot of people do want just that quick assessment. Like they want to look at a number like, hey, how is that Assassin's Creed Syndicate? Okay, 7, or okay, this guy gave it a 9. All right, so that means it's good. And they might read the actual review content wise after the fact, but that initial numerical value is like it's kind of what sticks out first and foremost.
Yeah, well, it is a decent indication. At least, like Ryan said, everything above a 5 is at least decent. Everything above a 7 is good. Everything above an 8 is great.
Except it doesn't get used like that because right now, like in theory, a 5 should be average, a 6 should be good. But if you look at a game and a game got a 6, people are still gonna, in the back of your mind, you get that that's actually a 6 is a bad number. A game has to be. I think 7 is still pushing. I think it would have to be at least an 8 for people to consider it a good game.
Yeah.
That's just score creep. I mean, I think you got to have a point. Well, okay, the whole method stuff is something to talk about in a second. But as far as the scores gradually trending upwards, I think you have to have a point where you reset the board. Because right now, theoretically, if you had a site that had been doing reviews, I should be able to compare a 9 from today against a 9 from 20 years ago. But you can't do that because video games have changed so much. They're very, very radically different, but they never go in and sort of reset back to 0, like 5 is now average again.
You can't do that anyway, because assessing what is essentially an art form is a very subjective thing. It's very personal. So you can't really...
Right, that's the methods sort of side of the conversation. Right, yeah. Because what you're trying to do is you're trying to take this qualitative experience of how somebody felt playing a video game and then encapsulate it inside a number.
Well, do we need a numbered ranking system for games? Why can't we just be like, you write a review and that's your review? It doesn't necessarily need to be turned into a number.
Well, the idea behind the number is that you can take it and compare video games against each other quickly and easily. Yeah. I could throw 20 games in a pile, compare them against each other, and theoretically, and I'm telling you, this is the ideal of how it should work. This is nothing even close to reality.
Yeah.
But I should be able to quantitatively assess the quality of each of those games and rank them in an order. And it doesn't work that way.
Well, I feel like that works when you're doing FPS versus FPS, but when you get out of those genre lines, you're kind of, you're getting into apples and oranges.
Right, exactly.
That's true. Like 2 games that you gave a 7, for instance, but one game might have a 7 for completely different reasons than the second game, which makes it hard to compare at all, really.
There's a thing I like, or at least as far as a way to do it, there's a thing in economics called a utility function. And basically what you get out of it is the amount of utility that you get for consuming different bundles of goods, right? Mm-hmm. But the thing is, if something gives you 10 utility and something else gives you 100, one of them isn't 90 better than the other one. They have ordinal properties, you can say one is preferred to the other, but they don't have cardinal properties.
Right.
So if a game got a 6 and a game got an 8, the 8 is better than the 6, but it's not 2 better, if that makes sense. What you could do is rank them against each other without actually having to get into the sticky mess of what makes a game 0.3 better than something else. You could just...
So you're almost saying that those numerical values are almost insular to whatever specific genre is for that particular game?
Well, yeah, that too. But also I think that we could come up with a roadmap of things that video games just need to do. Let's just start there. At a very basic level, is it technically competent?
Yeah, see, and that goes into the whole methods section. One, for example, you said, looking at whether or not a game's technically competent. Are there game-breaking bugs? Hardware performance should be definitely something that should apply to all games.
Right.
Yeah, and because that's objective, that one is quite easy to assess, because those things you can take on face value. But things like... sound design or atmosphere or story arc, stuff like that is all a bit more vague, a bit more nebulous.
But we can do it. We can do it. I'm telling you, we can do it. But you have to start there. You have to start bedrock. These are the things, and this will get you to a certain point. Mm-hmm. And then you can start to make a reasonable analysis about all those other pieces. You have to break it all apart and then push it all back together into a score. And it's not easy. But people aren't even trying. They're just slapping a number on it based on what they think.
Right.
Nobody's trying to make a quantitative approach that actually makes sense in the world of evaluating video games.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
That's what I think.
Kotaku does one thing right. It's one of the only things that they've ever done right. And that is they don't use a scoring system anymore. I think this is Kotaku, at least. They just say yes or no. And that's basically it. I like that one better. Would you recommend this? Yes or no?
I was going to bring up, I think, I don't know if it's a solution to the problem, but I think it helps the problem to simplify the scale, I guess. Instead of a 1 through 10, you use a 5-star or a 1, 2, 3 system. 3 is above average, exceptional, 2 is average, 1 is below average, And that, when you make the rating a little more vague, I think that kind of helps people's their emotions when they see the rating and they don't necessarily agree with it. Because a 7.4 is a lot more specific than saying this game is a 3,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is.
On their respective scales.
Yeah, that makes sense. Adding more numbers doesn't help you, I guess, all that much.
I think it just complicates it. It gives
Yeah.
more people. It gives people more room to argue.
You know, I miss the simplicity of
Yeah.
like the 2 thumbs up that Cisco and Ebert introduced to us.
yeah,
Because I feel
Yeah.
Because I mean, like, you know, something as binary as that helps take away a lot of the arguments that come in from, like you said, from that numerical scale. Because, you know, what's the difference between a 6 and a 6.5?
Well, that helps. That would help with each individual piece of media, but it doesn't help you as a whole comparing different pieces against each other.
Right.
Some websites just cut everything like all the parts of the game up in little pieces and assess them one by one, and then attach just numerical value to each thing.
And then
So
you average.
sound design could be an 8, gameplay could be a 7. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
graphics could be 10, stuff like that.
That's
that one's a
getting
bit
somewhere.
more precise. That's a bit more precise than just giving the entire game a score. You can do an overall score based on the scores you gave the individual bits.
Yeah,
That would
and
be
give like
better.
a little section for the reviewer to nudge it in whatever direction that they want to. Like there's a
Yeah,
blank
or-
box at the bottom where they can put their number into it. But I mean, with the yes and the no and the thumbs up, thumbs down, like if I go to that website and I go, what's the best video game in the last 12 years? It's going to be like 100 games that all got 2 thumbs up.
Right.
Yeah.
And in that point, it fails one of the primary functions of what you want out of a like quantitative sort of system. But for each game, each game it makes sense. It's getting closer. Like breaking it into all those segments is getting closer. At the very least, we could section off all the easily objective sort of factors.
Yeah, but the issue with breaking it up to those segments is, you know, do you apply the same weight to different genres for each segment? Because, I mean, multiplayer, do you score the same weight on multiplayer game for a game like Call of Duty as you would for a game like, I don't know, where the multiplayer is like an afterthought?
yeah.
But that one is a bit easier to assess, isn't it? Because take Call of Duty, like you said, an online shooter. The most important things for that is, does the netcode work? Is matchmaking simple? Are the maps well designed? Those are all things you can objectively look at and objectively assess. And when you have single player games, you have to deal with things like stories and voice acting, stuff like that, which is a lot harder to assess.
I think what you rapidly sort of walk into is the fact that you need some kind of behind the scenes algorithm. Like you need some like data crunching statistics level sort of stuff going on. Like here's the confidence interval that this is a decent video game.
So what Metacritic or OpenCritic does basically.
Yeah, but with a little bit more calculation behind the scenes, like not just an aggregate, but like an actual based on break the video game into tiny pieces, score each of them, and then give yourself a little bit of room for error, like 5% or whatever. And like,
yeah, that would never work unless that like every number means the same across all review sites for every reviewer. Like,
yeah, which it doesn't, and which it won't. But like, if you
it's
want,
impossible.
That's the thing. Like when you start getting into this and you start saying, okay, let's make a system to quantify a video game in a way that is true and makes sense and is data backed and scientific. Like you look at that and you see that mountain and you're like, fuck it, it's an 8.5.
Plus, you know, all you need to do if you want to find out what the game is read the entire review and not just base your purchasing decisions on a numerical value at the bottom of like a 2,000 word review. It's always best to just read the entire thing.
It is. I mean, in an ideal in an ideal world, that'd be great. But fact of the matter is that numerical value, it gives us a very quick way to process that data. You know, when the average consumer looks at a 3,000 page review, their eyes are going to gloss over, and then they're going to see like an 8. They're like, oh, okay, this guy likes it, and that's it.
Yeah, but if they buy it just based off that and they don't like it, it's their fault. Then I mean, it didn't really help them. It didn't really inform them. It's an amalgamation of everything you said in the review. And that's basically it. You don't know why the person gave that score. You don't know his motivations for giving that score. And then the only way you're going to find out is by reading the entire thing. So if you want good consumer advice, you best make damn well sure that you read the entire thing.
in a perfect world of quantification, I wouldn't have to.
Oh, good point.
If there was a quantification system that worked, you wouldn't need the crutch of having paragraphs and paragraphs of explanation given to the score.
Yeah, but does that exist?
No.
Can that exist?
No.
Maybe.
of course
no and maybe are my
No.
answers to your two questions.
I think we can get-
games are way too complex to just boil down to a number in here.
No,
I mean, we
nothing
do it,
is too
but
complex to boil down to a number in your head.
No, that is true. You can quantify anything. The problem is just finding the proper way to go about it.
That's what I think. That's my personal belief. I don't think anybody's trying right now.
Yeah, I was gonna
So-
say, is someone ever gonna realistically do that? Because I feel like it is possible, but man, that'd be a complicated system, and there would be so many people who were like, "No, this should be that way, and this should be that way." You know,
Uh,
I don't know if we'll ever find one that everyone's happy.
I mean, well,
with.
I think there's certain things that like you guys were saying, like there's the bedrock that I think should apply to all games. I mean, the technical aptitude of a game is paramount. Like that should apply. You should look at the equal scrutiny to any game for that. I mean, in terms of how the controls respond, whether there's any lag input, frame rate. I think these are all things that apply to every single game. And I think that
and they're objectively quantifiable.
yeah, but I mean, even with that, I think that there's ways to look at other aspects of it that can be quantified in a way, like whether or not the music matches the atmosphere that you're feeling. Because, like, let's say Until Dawn. Until Dawn did a really good job of matching its sound and ambience to the overall atmosphere. But if Until Dawn had something like My Little Pony playing in the background, obviously, that wouldn't work to create the ambience the game wants. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with having like a rolling sort of system. Like when I make this algorithm, it compares this game against all games from the last year or the last 6 months or whatever. That way, since games are moving so fast, you could then compare like against like in a way. Obviously not genre-wise,
Right.
but technical-wise. Because if you wanted to do graphics, like you're instantly going to have a problem because games get better looking all the time.
Yeah.
There's a way, but nobody's doing it. And also, what's the point? Because nobody cares. I mean, I care. I care, but like, I don't think
a few
many
people
other
care.
people do.
Actually, no, I think
I guess that's the end of the segment. Nobody cares.
no. I think more people care than we realize. It's just that, like you said, nobody's trying, so they're almost kind of just defeated in a way.
Yeah.
Because there's not really a point. I mean,
There's a point, damn it. It's to be informed.
if you want to
I
be
mean, there
informed,
is a
read the
point.
review.
Read the review.
Also, I mean, you have people who like writing prose, so like, of course, they don't want it to happen because they like their crutch is where they make their income.
Yeah, right, Enrique. We should be in the exact same site on this.
No.
because we both like to write stuff.
I mean, from an industry sort of analysis perspective, like somebody's going to come along and you guys are going to be extinct.
No, dude,
but
I'm perfectly fine.
it's not right now.
I am perfectly fine with finding a good way to quantify games because I think that the actual numerical review is useful to a degree. I just think that people have gotten really sloppy and lazy with it. Very rarely do you see a lot of despairing results between different sites. It's very rare that you'll see a site give a game a 10 out of 10 and somebody give it like a 2 out of 10. And I don't want to, because I don't know, I can't believe that a game would be so universally appeal to everybody that everybody would just unanimously give it that. I think there's more going on in the background in regards to you don't want to go against the grain. You want to make sure that what you're doing at least kind of falls into what the expectation is. So I think that also helps.
Nah, man. If you've got that attitude towards consumer advice, and you shouldn't be in games journalism. You just what? Why would you just say what the rest are saying purely because the rest are saying that thing?
They do it all the time.
They do.
Yeah, I know they do. I'm not questioning them. I'm not questioning that. I find it really hard to accept that it happens. Because it's not your job to say what everybody else is saying.
No, it's not.
People come
I
to
don't
you
think it's as much
for
of
your
a
opinion.
conscious decision as you think it is.
You think it's almost like what would you call it? Because I don't think it's like a weird post-confirmation bias.
I don't know how you would describe it, but it's something. They're
Professional
not like
peer pressure.
Yeah, they're not deciding to. I mean, maybe it's because all reviewers are good at their craft and they're all very objective, and even if they personally don't like it, they can still recognize that this is a good video
Are
game.
you having a hard time keeping a straight face while you say that?
Maybe a little bit, but I mean, so theoretically that could be possible, but also, are you going to be the one website who gets it wrong, quote unquote.
Is there a way to? Well, see,
I don't think that should factor into you writing your review. You should just give your opinion and give the game a score, the score that you think it's worth, and not give it a score because other people are giving it a score in the same ballpark. I mean, that's just not ethical, because you use your position to influence public opinion, and if you're just parroting other people, then what's the point of you?
I don't have the words for it, so you can cut this out, but I'm going to say it again, that I don't think it's as conscious of a decision as that. I don't think they do it on purpose to stay in line with the majority, but
it's almost like a crowd effect, or like a crowd appeasement, where, like you said, it's just there's almost like this general air where as reviews start coming out, you kind of start building this expectation of the game, and you almost...
Well, the other thing is that if you see your job as to inform consumers, then your personal preference doesn't weigh as heavily into that.
That is true.
So I might personally hate a game, but if it's good for the people, because I'm an outlier and I'm a little bit weird about video games, then, I give it the score that I think the game deserves, not the score that I think the game deserves.
Well, those two things should be one and the same.
Do you think we see enough of that, though?
No, I don't think they should be one and the same. Well, I mean, then you're asking what's the purpose of game reviews?
No, you know what? I agree with Sam, though. I think that in an ideal world, we would have a scale that is close to perfect enough to the point where, as a reviewer, using that scale, you might completely hate a game for completely personal reasons, but on the scale itself, it is entirely possible for it to still receive a positive score. Taking a bit of a segue from the reviews discussion, I think one of the reasons that we have them in the first place was just, to kind of help consumers and, what they want to buy. But it kind of got me thinking about a little bit of a more nefarious side of that whole consumerism thing. And it goes when you have companies that try to use a little bit more of a native advertising or guerrilla tactics when it comes to pitching their game. Recently, there was a Reddit thread that talked about a developer, which I won't name here, but they were actually found to be having their employees, they were actually going on Amazon, and they were actually bumping up their Amazon review
Rock Band
scores.
4, if I recall correctly.
Okay, you know what? Fuck not saying the company, but whatever, sure. Yeah.
I mean, it's widely known at this point.
Okay, well, they were going on Amazon, and they were actually, posting their personal accounts, and they were actually giving Rock Band 4 5-star reviews. Another instance was another developer, which Chris will not name, but they were actually offering users, I think they were offering like in-game items for a separate game if they were, upload their current game on Steam. And it kind of brings up this whole concept of, this guerrilla marketing that a lot of companies are using, where they're kind of trying to trick the consumer in any way possible, just to kind of give more review or validity to their own games. Just kind of like
YouTube channels used to do that up until a couple of years ago, where they did promotional videos, but they did not disclose that to their viewers.
I remember that. I forget, there was a couple of really big name YouTube stars that they got caught. I guess Microsoft had signed an agreement with them where they were basically positively reviewing the Xbox One and some games on it, and it turns out that they were actually paid for those reviews.
I think that is just downright dirty.
Are you saying they were paid for positive reviews, or they were just paid to do...
Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
Yes.
nah.
Well, it's weird. Like, the documents were a little shady about it because they didn't really specify the nature of it. They just said they were paid to feature the Xbox and these specific games and to talk favorably about them.
Man.
So they weren't doing a review technically. They were just basically giving them advertising, but they weren't disclosing that, hey, we do this.
The good thing about that is I'd be fine with a developer paying me to give a review of their game. What I'm not okay with is them paying me to do a good review, or, well, you can't do an honest review when you're being paid that's positive without people saying that was positive because he was paid.
Well, here's the thing. At that point, I don't think it treads completely out of the grounds of reviews. At that point, it becomes an advertisement. Like, they were, for all intents and purposes, advertising a product, which is fine. Except that, given the context, people were thinking that they were speaking honestly as their
I think you got to really have a good reputation to get paid to review games. Like your user base really has to trust you and trust that you're not, letting that money influence your decision. And I don't think the internet is ever gonna be that trusting.
And even if you think yourself to be an ethical sort, if you get promotional materials sent to you, or even just like Total Biscuit had a couple of years ago, where he had a PO box and developers used to send him gifts and all that. Even if you're trying to be ethical, other people being nice to you will sway your opinion of the product that those same people are trying to get out, even if you don't want that to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
if
like
you know what I mean?
Subconscious level, you're sort of more inclined. I mean, that's the reason why for business deals you take people out to dinner and stuff like that. It's just, it's like very subtle, but it turns the gear like just a couple clicks in the right direction, and sometimes that's all it takes to make all the difference, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And if you're a huge YouTube channel with a huge following and you're not disclosing the fact that you're doing paid stuff, like promo stuff, you are basically just using your influence for evil.
Yeah.
And well, to the other side of it, as far as the guerrilla marketing stuff, like so much of popular opinion is crowdsourced, like nowadays. You know, like you look at hundreds of thousands of reviews and then see an overall, you know, star rating or whatever on Amazon based on those. And like, of course, they're going to try to influence that in some sort of way because their traditional methods of influencing one person are now way less effective. So they have to find a way to come to grasps with this new system and this new method. And honestly, I think it's okay. Like, they have to do what they're going to do because they have to do some kind of marketing, and it might be a little bit shady, but I think that the way it's currently laid out, the risk and reward of that are perfectly balanced, because if you do it and you get caught, you are absolutely screwed.
Yeah.
So they, you know, like they have to make a decision about it. It's not automatic. It's not easy to just jump in and deceive people because people are more aware than they've ever been. So if you want to jump in there and try and get your little fractional gain by gaming crowdsourced reviews and knowing that if you get caught, you're pretty much fucked, I'm okay with that because it is a calculated sort of decision.
But even that, you know, I'm kind of fascinated by this escalation that we've seen in the past few years where native advertising is a relatively new thing, where the whole concept of native advertising is when you have, I guess, the creators of a product just talking and writing about the product as if they were, you know, like part of an editorial staff or a TV station executive. Like, the whole point is you don't notice it's advertising. They kind of slip it under the radar. And that seemed benign enough because, you know, whatever, you know, it's their marketing companies are doing this. But now we're getting to this more aggressive stance where they're paying their employees to willfully deceive others. You know, like, hey, go on Amazon and upload this game, or hey, you know, we will give the community free stuff for this game if you upload this current game coming up. And it seems like they're becoming more and more aggressive in their attempts to, I guess, promote.
But us as the audience, we're becoming more and more inoculated against that kind of thing. And like, we have to be as a defense mechanism. Like, it's like the eternal struggle of like the weapon and the armor. Like, one gets stronger, the other has to get stronger in turn. And that's why you couldn't trust a mommy blog on the internet for like the last 10 years, because they would be issuing reviews of things that technically, you know, weren't reviews. Like, we're consumers. We're not stupid. And like, we become more intelligent and we catch them out with that kind of thing, and they become more like sly and try to sneak that stuff in. And it's just a weird thing to watch it play out in that manner. But as long as we keep punishing them when they get caught, I think that the system has enough checks and balances to work.
I think that the entire thing stands and falls on a couple of key figures who stand up for consumer rights, which has started to happen more and more over the past few years, which is, I think not disclosing you getting paid to do a video now is illegal, and it wasn't illegal at first. So, I think consumers are as stupid. We are as stupid as we've always been. It's just that there are more people now who really do seem to want to stand up for our rights.
So you think that there's just a bigger proverbial safety
Sorry,
net
come
around
again?
this? You think there's a bigger, I guess, like, we have a bigger safety net rather than us actually learning?
Yeah, I think that is it. Because if you don't have those people, you have nothing to go on. Yeah, you might have reviews and videos made by people, but those might all be paid off.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Like the consumer watchdog kind of organizations and stuff. But us as people, we see that stuff. We see it all the time, every day. We're inundated with advertisements in every single corner of real estate, be it screen or real life, that we could possibly see. And it sucks. And I mean, I think it's also become less effective. So the advertisements, the ones that theoretically work, are the ones that sort of disguise themselves as actual content. And then, so they're hiding in actual content, which we want to consume. And then now that's another trap. It's tough. It's hard out there. But they have to sell a product. I mean, they really do. If they don't do that stuff, then nobody ever hears about their thing, and they never make any money.
Yeah. Plus the people that we look up to on YouTube, people like Total Biscuit or Super Bunny Hop or whatever, you know, they need to eat as well. So they take on these marketing campaigns, or they become part of this marketing campaign in order to make some more money themselves.
Yeah, that's true too. And I guess it seems like one of those systems that just has to remain adversarial forever. I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I understand, on the one hand, like you said, it is a business and these are people's jobs. You know, like, there's some guy whose job is to get up in the morning, go to Rockstar, and check his reports to make sure that all the Harmonix employees that were under his team actually went on Amazon and posted their 4-star reviews.
Well, didn't Harmonix come out and say, like, this is not our company, we do not condone this? This was basically just a couple of employees who went out and did that on themselves?
I'm pretty sure they had to say that regardless.
They might have really liked it, though. I mean, they worked on it. They might really think it's the bee's knees.
Oh, well, yeah, obviously, but, you know.
I would take their public PR statement at face value. It is just a PR statement, because I don't think any company in the right mind would go and say, "You got me."
Yeah, but it seems such a stupid thing, because they were posting the reviews with their own names, if I recall correctly, and those could be traced back easily to the developer themselves. So
I mean, you underestimate how, I don't want to say stupid, but how not intelligent some people can be when it comes to these kind of things. Because they could have very well have thought, hey, as long as I post it on my personal account, it'll be fine. Because, I mean, people did have to do some digging. They actually had to go through their personal names and match it with the employee names on the actual company website. And that's not something.
Also, is that even entirely necessary? It was on Amazon, right? So eventually, it's not like that can cause that much of a stir in a pool of, tens of thousands, right?
No, but it can when those the first reviews are Google. I think that was
sort of get there early and try and turn the tide.
Yeah, because if I'm going to review something and I go on there and there's already 20 5-star reviews and I didn't think it was that great, that's going to cause me to be like, maybe I need to relook at it, take a second look.
Yeah.
Because obviously all these people liked it so much, there's got to be something I'm missing.
It kind of sets that little buffer, it kind of sets the ball rolling to have that positive feedback loop.
Yeah, that makes sense. But then you see, I mean, they got caught and they're getting absolutely slammed for it. And what was the potential gain if they wouldn't have got caught? I mean, it can't be that much.
No. I mean, it can't be that much, but I mean, I don't know. When it comes to marketing, I don't know what the mentality is. I don't know if it's every little bit helps, which is why they drop so much money in marketing and they have all these little avenues they do it about. Because, I mean, I don't want to go, tinfoil hat on anybody, but I'm pretty sure a lot of the posts that we see on Reddit, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of them are, some marketing intern that's going on there and, hey guys, look at this.
Oh yeah, 100%. Cool. Or product placement in a picture that's funny, just happens to be there. It's somebody's kitchen and, oh cool, they use Comet, whatever. Does anybody use Comet anymore? Anyway, but something like that, but at the same time, if we were a united consumer group, against these companies and these advertisements, we wouldn't put them on blast when we found something like this. Right. Let them keep doing things in a way that we know and that we can find out, but don't let them know we know. And then, we always have the upper hand. We know a certain amount of Amazon reviews. Okay, we're going to discard those, right? But don't tell them, because we want them to keep their bullshit in a section where we can control it.
That's a whole lot of cooperation from a whole lot of people.
Oh yeah, it's impossible. But I mean, can you imagine? That would be great, right?
Yeah, that'd be fantastic. Nobody tell them we know.
Oh, but yeah, I mean, it's an interesting atmosphere out there now, because like you said, it's almost like this escalation we've seen where they went from, really subtle product placement to just straight out, bribing and just not subliminal messaging, because that's bullshit, but, basically convincing, famous, reputable people to hey, just say something nice about this. And
I don't get how that doesn't like, if you're a company, like, how does that leave the editorial meeting with everybody thinking, yeah, this isn't going to come back to bite us?
I don't think that decision was made that high up. It probably started and stopped in the marketing department, and probably with just a few people, or it just never, I mean, you could be right. It could have gone all that way, and it just never touched somebody who saw what the ramifications were.
That's it. Like, you think it's just like it could just be like some big executive that's just like massively or just underestimating the feedback.
I mean, it could be, but I mean, the thing is, like, the goal is what we're interpreting in the goal as the goal. I think is slightly wrong. I don't think the goal is to sway people to a positive opinion. I think what they want to do is just get their thing in front of as many people as possible and have them decide yes or no.
No, I don't think that is what commercials are trying to do at all. They are trying to compel you to buy something, not to make up your own mind. They want you to get it.
They want you to know it exists, though. I mean, like, they want you to know it's something that's out there in the world and the universe, because otherwise you're somebody who hasn't even made a decision, which is worse than the person who decided no.
Well, yeah, that's one thing, but they want to compel you to buy it, or else, why else would they include, like, got 50 Best of E3 awards? Like, look at all these scores. Look how good other people think we are based on nothing. They want to peddle their stuff to you.
Well, I think it's the first step is what Sam's saying, is get it out there in front of as many people as you can. And then you kind of lose it from there with people, companies saying, hey, we'll give you this much money for a good review or something like that.
I mean, you still need the persuasive stuff, obviously, but it's not going to do you any good to somebody who has no idea that that's even a product that they could buy.
Yeah, so I think what you're saying has to come first. Like, you get it, you just have to get it out there, and then they come in with, hey, you should buy this because of blah, blah, blah. But if you don't know what it is, I mean, the second group of things that need to happen is never going to happen.
A bit of a tangential story, but going along with what Sam was saying about in terms of, like, they just want out there so people can see. A few months ago, I was actually at GameStop, and I forget what game the advertising banner was, but you know how normally Ryan was saying that, you'll see, 110 Best in E3 award, or won this many, or like 9 out of 10 from all these sites. The game actually had none of that. All it had was, this game's pretty good by PewDiePie. And I just thought that was so hilarious because it's almost like some guy in the market room is just saying, you know what, we need to change paradigms. We need to synergize, and PewDiePie's really big, so instead of doing what everyone else is doing, we got to go with this really unique quote from PewDiePie.
I bet it worked though. Who do you trust more? Not me. God damn it. Who person gaming enthusiast at somewhere in the middle? Who do they trust more? Yeah. PewDiePie on YouTube, or like some gold seal from some organization?
Yeah, exactly.
Some bureaucracy. Like, I can see his face. I can see him talking. I can see him, his popularity around all that stuff, whether I like it or not. This hypothetical person I'm talking about, like, that small endorsement means more than all that stuff.
Yeah.
So it's not the worst idea I've ever heard.
It's not, but it's like we were saying. It's like Sam was saying. You have the community getting more and more inoculated to these advertising attempts. So as a result, they are in turn finding new ways to advertise to us. So on the one hand, you have people suddenly having almost this ingrained mistrust for the review scores, like, 10 out of 10 from IGN, Game of the Year. The first thought is like, they probably got bought off. So instead of going that road, like, okay, well, obviously if people aren't trusting our reviews, paid reviews, so let's start going with YouTube personalities now.
If there's anything surprising about that, it's that they didn't do both. Like, why not put every scrap of that stuff you can find? Like, PewDiePie's going to pull in 15%, IGN's going to pull in 15%,
right,
and et cetera, et cetera. Let's put all of it on there. I guess you only have so much box space in a way.
Yeah, I just thought it was interesting that, like, somebody actually had the idea to, like, break out of that mold and, like, hey, let's try this avenue instead.
I mean, they're going to advertise. I mean, they're just, I guess what the sticking point is for us is the methods that they go about doing it with.
Mm. Mm-hmm. It's the shadiness of some of these deals.
Yeah. I don't know. It's like, it gets shady so fast. It's like, I don't even want to touch it with a 10-foot pole,
And, especially if you're in that position and you choose, like literally choose to not disclose it. That is where you're complicit in it, basically.
Do you think, from a consumer standpoint, does that actually change your desire to buy something? Like, let's say you were really into Rockman 4 and then you found out that Harmonix was doing this. Does that actually change your opinion, saying, oh man, I don't want to buy this game anymore because of this shady practice?
Not really.
It doesn't, and that's the beautiful thing.
Right.
That is what I've always endorsed, is the most beautiful thing about video games. If it's a good fucking game, nothing else matters.
Right.
It does not matter. Like, it is the most pure form of entertainment that there is.
Yeah.
So in a way that like they almost end up winning regardless of whether or not they get caught.
As long as they make a good game, I'll forgive anything. That's me. I mean, that's me personally. Some people...
To a certain extent. I mean, I find it really, really hard to give certain companies my money because of their, shit consumer practices, basically. Like, I don't want to endorse something like that. No matter how good the game is, at a certain point, it just... The way you are treated by certain companies makes you feel like they literally do not respect you and they don't care what you as a fan of their products think. I find it really hard to then endorse them by giving them more money. Basically enabling those practices even further.
I think
even if it's a good game.
Hang on. I think Chris is giving the answer when you ask an individual that question. But I think by and large, people are going to... It's the same thing. I mean, it's the same thing with like sports. If you have a player who's just a shitty person, but they make you win a championship every year, no one's going to say a damn word.
Yeah.
Because, but if you ask them individually, they're going to be like, yeah, I really don't like him. But they're not going to do anything about it. So I think by and large, people are going to buy a game if it's a good game. But when you ask an individual, they'll give you what they really think.
Thank you once again, as always, for listening to the Select Characters podcast. This was episode 26, and we were incredibly happy to have you here with us. Thank you, of course, as always. Let's see. You can check out our YouTube channel. We got some Game Club videos coming up this week.
Yeah, it's going to be back. It's going to be back.
Ryan's back. Game Club's back. We're feeling good around here. We're going to try and kick that off with the Beginner's Guide coming up this week. And of course, as always, you can find us on social media, /r/select characters, Facebook, Twitter, email. Send us an email. Just do it. Just send us an email. Why not, right? You got nothing to lose. selectcharacters@gmail.com. We'll take thoughts. We'll take topics. We'll take compliments. Criticisms will be deleted.
We'll take presents. So.
Yeah, there's no room for negativity in our little hot box.
We want to hear from you. We will brook no dissent, but we do want to hear from you. So send us an email. And I think that about wraps up everything we've got, and we will see you next week.
Bye. Thanks for listening.
See ya.